Hello. Today I thought I'd talk about some of my ideas I have for recycling, reusing, repurposing, and reducing waste, which are things that I am interested in all the time. I also have some tips that I use in different situations in the kitchen or other areas in my life. I got this container from my sister's house. My dad used to live with her, and this had coffee mate in it. It had some glue residue left after I took the label off, so I applied this mixture of baking soda and oil that I keep on the counter, and I just applied it on the residue, leave it on for a minute and washed it off, and it takes all the glue off. I use that on glass jars and plastic that I'm reusing. Anyway, my sister wasn't too impressed when I said that I was going to use this as a toilet in my SUV when I go camping this summer. I repurpose plastic bags from milk or from bread. I make my own bread, so I just need them sometimes. Anyway, I wash them, and I made this little string line that I just hang on my doorknobs to hang them up to dry, and then I can just take them off, the string off when they're dry, and fold it away and put it in a drawer. I save all the plastic from cracker boxes or cereal boxes or processed foods that I do buy occasionally. And I use them in containers, like if I'm freezing falafels, in between the falafels, or in between slices of tofu, or if I make some kind of vegetable patties or even meat patties. I put them between the layers, and I put this in the freezer, and then they don't stick together, and I can take out just one at a time, especially as I'm a single person, and that works very well for me for storage. I also use it for when I'm rolling out tortillas to roll them thinly and have them not stick to anything before I can cook them. It's funny how I can lift weights, but I can't open a little jar like this. I've banged it with a knife, banged it upside down, run it underwater. But one thing that my dad gave me years ago, which has been really helpful, and that is this. This is like a non-stick, non-skid thing. I know the people in the long-term care home pat it under their plates. Well, it is great for me to open jars. So just a tip. It comes in a roll, and my dad just cut me off a piece, and I carry it everywhere with me when I go away in my vehicle too, so I can open jars. I find these plastic covers really useful. I cover bowls when I put them in the fridge. I cover my butter when it's on the counter. It's just very useful to have, and it means I cut down on my plastic waste, because I just use them, wash them, and reuse them. I save rolls from aluminum foil or things that I do buy, and also sometimes clean toilet rolls. And I use them to keep my cords organized for my appliances on my shelves. When I travel, I mostly go with a backpack if I'm on a plane, or even in my vehicle when I'm sleeping in the back of my vehicle when I go away for my free camping. And I had some older pillowcases that had some tears in and some worn spots, and I cut them up, and I hand sewed my own little stuff sacks. And you can see that one's written on, undies and bras. And because I saved shoelaces from shoes, I just threaded them through so that I could pack a lot of stuff in these things and do them up. So they're my own little stuff sacks, but I recycled my pillowcases to make them, and my shoelaces. I had lots of little scraps of wool left over from projects, little tiny balls, and I just tied them all together, wound them all up, and then I crocheted them into bath mats. And then in here, walk you through here, I also made a mat for in front of my sink. And then that used up all the little wee scraps. Some of the scraps were only a foot long, but I just tied them all together and kept crocheting them. I had two tiny pillows that weren't really useful to me, and then I thought of this bench that I have where I sit and put it on my boots before I'm going out, or my shoes. So I just kind of cut them apart and sewed them together to make a cushion for it. and it's quite comfortable. This pillow is made out of an old pair of jeans that were kind of torn and ripped. Lots of worn through areas. I had an odd sock, so I just made patches there for it, and then I stuffed it. And actually, it's my daughter's favorite pillow when she comes over. She sleeps with it. It's her body pillow. When my dad passed away last year, when we were going through his things, we found lots and lots of handkerchiefs in his drawers, which nobody else wanted, so I took them. And now I don't use paper Kleenexes, but I use these handkerchiefs and they're great. I have lots more too. And what is also nice about them is some of them have the letter D on them, which is in memory of my father who was named Derek. And there was one still with the letter B on it, which is for my mom, Barbara. So they're useful, but also they give me memories too. They make me think of my parents. My basil plants weren't doing well. They were a few years old, and they just didn't look good, and they weren't growing well. So I took cuttings from them, and I put them in water. And when they rooted, I replanted them in fresh soil, and now I have new basil plants, and they're doing pretty good now. I'm just soaking some sprouting seeds. These are sunflower seeds. And I save all my containers, like from when I buy mushrooms in containers and things like that. And I will plant these after they've soaked for a number of hours in some soil. Keep them in the dark for a couple of days, covered with usually wet newspaper or wet paper. And then I will take them out after 2 days and they'll already be sprouted. And then when they grow up bigger, I eat them with salads or on sandwiches or just on my dinner plate. Seeds are now planted in old mushroom containers, so they are reused for a good purpose. And soon I will have microgreens in the cupboard to sprout. There was many times that we didn't have brown sugar, so I used to use things that I had in my house, and I used to make my own. So I used to take 1 cup of white sugar, then I would take 2 tablespoons of molasses, should have got that out before. And I used to mix it together. It takes a while. I guess you could pulse these days in a food processor or something, but I don't know, I'm still old school. A fork will do. As you can see, it's starting to come together. Takes a little while, little work, but the kids liked it on their oatmeal and stuff when they were growing up. If you want it darker, you can add a little more molasses. If I wanted it really dark, I would double the amount, or else I'd do 3 tablespoons. But it smells good. I always like molasses because ginger cookies were always my favorite. Right there is my brown sugar. This is my pancake syrup. This is the syrup that my kids grew up with. I used to make it instead of buying the brand names and stuff. And so I called it my economy pancake syrup. I used 1 3/4 cups of white sugar, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and 1 cup of water. And I used to stir that up, and I used to bring it to a boil. And then I used to cover it and cook it for maybe 1 to 2 minutes at a boil. And then I would let it cool some. After it cooled a bit, I would add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla and 1/2 teaspoon of maple flavoring. I would recover it and let it cool a lot while the lid is on, because that reduced the crystals. So this has been in my fridge now for a couple of months, and this is what's left. It was in a bigger bottle before, but yeah, and there's no crystals. It tastes just like any other artificial maple syrup that you buy in the store. Another thing I started doing was using a reusable filter for my coffee maker. So now I do not have to buy any more of those paper filters, and I reduce waste this way. I save jars for everything. I dehydrate food, so then I have extra jars for that, for when I make my marmalades or my jams. I also have lots more jars and containers up there. Containers I use for my water when I go walking, but they're all reused from other places. And then I also keep over here all my dried beans and dried goods in jars that I have saved. I have my takeout cups for when I go to get coffee, or I take coffee from home, or sometimes I make up a little thermos and take that out with me, so I do not have to purchase anything when I'm out. I even have a little lunch bag that I pack a little lunch in too, or a snack, so that I don't have to buy snacks when I'm out on the go. I can take jars to the bulk food store, and they will weigh them, and then when I fill them, they weigh them again, and I pay the difference in price for the things that I have bought. And that saves on me using their plastic bags or their plastic containers to put my food in. I save everything from things that I discard, and I save a lot of elastic from clothes that are no good anymore. And because I change sizes so often, on this pair of pants I threaded through elastic. I sewed buttons on it inside, and I make holes in the elastic, and then I can keep adjusting it, whether I'm going up in weight or whether I'm going down in weight, and it saves me from having to buy different sizes of clothes. I bought this backpack from a thrift store. It had a lot of broken buckles on it, but because I save things from things that I have had that maybe have ripped or torn apart and had to be discarded, I was able to repair and replace all the buckles. I only paid $3 for this, and I have traveled to Vancouver Island and to Hawaii and many other places, and I'm sure it'll travel with me a lot more. I hope you enjoyed hearing about some of my ideas of how I recycle, reuse, repurpose, and try to reduce waste in my life. If you liked the video, subscribe, press like, and share. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.